ready. We're prepared. Do not give in to fear. We are fearless. This is not the time to be afraid. This is a time to stand up and fight back and to resist any temptation for them to divide us. We're in this together. The rule of law is on our side. We will not give in, not give up. We will not capitulate. We will not bow. We will not bend. We will survive.
And I want to start the show today talking about elections having consequences. I think all of you who listen, you know this already. We're here, and I don't want to pile on. If you sat this last election out, shame on you, but have the courage. Have the courage to say, I was wrong. I shouldn't have sat home. Don't double down on your ignorance. Don't do that. Own it and be better. Be better. That's what grown-ups do. We acknowledge when there's a mistake made, and then we do better. If you decided as a protest, I'm going to write in Cornel West, you were wrong. You were absolutely wrong. Own it. If you were Jill Stein all the way, first of all, I feel bad for you. Sorry, but you were wrong. And it's okay to be wrong. It's wrong to stay in wrong. We're all going to be wrong. We're human beings. We all make mistakes. Everybody listening to my voice, you have made a mistake. You will continue to make mistakes. It's part of the human condition. I think it's built in so that we gain humility along the way. It's part of that so that we don't walk around thinking we know everything. We're going to make mistakes. But staying in wrong, that's the problem. That's immaturity. That's a lack of character. And we have to do better because we can do better. And things, listen, at least for the foreseeable future, we're still going to have elections. We may at least have a midterm that will be fair. And there are local elections. There's a governor's election in the state of New Jersey. South Carolina just had a state house election, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But I wanted to start today because this affects all of us, those of you who live in these hurricane states. The hurricane is not looking for Democrats or Republicans when it comes through. It's not saying I'm just going to hit this area, not that area. Now, if we're talking about infrastructure, like what happened in Louisiana during Katrina, the Ninth Ward was disproportionately impacted because of lack of infrastructure and resources. So the levees broke because they don't care about them people. So we're going to have, the fallout. But like the hurricane that hit the mountains of North Carolina, nobody was checking for, and the tornadoes of Arkansas and all of the things that are happening. We're in that season. We talked last week about the, this is crazy. We didn't. Did we talk about the chief, the FEMA chief? No, we did not. That's what I'm going to talk about then. The acting head of the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, told employees on Monday that he did not know that the United States has a hurricane season. The person in charge of doling out resources during hurricanes told his staff that he was unaware that there was a hurricane season in the United States. According to two people who heard the remarks, they were like, what? David Richardson served in the Marines, worked in the Department of Homeland Security's Countering Weapons of Mass Destruction Office. I'm nervous right now because you put an idiot over something that's really important, and now he's over something even more important or maybe equally important. But we already know this government is not going to dole out money. He didn't even give his friend Sarah Huckabee Sanders money when she asked for it for a natural disaster that came through her state. So Trump was like, no. But this guy joined FEMA, and he's been talking about, cuts and, bloated budgets and all of this. And but he doesn't even realize that there are hurricane seasons in the United States of America. I guess that's for tropical islands, you idiot. But this is, again, elections have consequences, and we have to be a better steward of this thing called the vote. We can't just be giving it out or not using it at all because you've been told by people who are either grifting or stupid that your vote doesn't matter. Ask the people in South Carolina. 3,000 votes sat another Democrat in the state house. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but I just want to continue to talk about this administration. As a matter of fact, there's a weather report that, the cut in the funding of a bunch of stuff, including tracking things like hurricanes that this administration is doing. While you may not think it's a big deal, live in a hurricane zone and you don't know it's coming. We just had this happen. What was it, Missouri? Yes. We just talked about Missouri having a disaster come through. And because the weather people didn't know it was coming, it was a tornado, didn't know it was coming. They couldn't warn people and people died. And the tornado's not saying, are you a Democrat? Are you a Republican? No, it's not. It's coming through. But we should at least have warning. Get out. You got 6 hours, or we're going to call an emergency, state emergency, so you can get out. This is going to be really a bad summer for a lot of people who live in these hurricane zones. But let me play this weather report from, who's it? John Morales, a veteran South Florida meteorologist. And people who think meteorologists are just, fluffy people, they're actors who they're reading from the reports that come from the damn space that tells the people whether there's going to be an earthquake or like these are folk that are really good at their jobs. And John Morales, who's been there forever, had this to say to his viewers. Play it, Smith.
When is it going to turn? John, it's not turning. It's coming straight to us. It's going to turn. All right. The turn was never forecast to be on Sunday. The turn isn't even on Monday morning. The turn will come Monday afternoon, Monday evening, into Tuesday. Remember that? That was about 6 years ago. That was Hurricane Dorian, as it was absolutely devastating the Northwest Bahamas as a Category 5, sat over that region for 2 days. It was headed straight west. Lots of people in Florida were concerned the hurricane was heading here. And as you've grown accustomed to my presentations over my 34 years in South Florida newscasts, confidently, I went on TV and I told you, it's going to turn. You don't need to worry. It is going to turn. And I am here to tell you that I am not sure I can do that this year because of the gutting, the sledgehammer attack on science in general, and I could talk about that for a long, long time, and how that is affecting the U.S. Leadership in science over many years, and how we're losing that leadership, and this is a multi-generational impact on science in this country, all right? But specifically, let's talk about the federal government cuts to the National Weather Service and to NOAA. Did you know that Central and South Florida National Weather Service offices are currently basically 20 to 40% understaffed? From Tampa to Key West, including the Miami office, 20 to 40% understaffed. Now, this type of staffing shortage is having impacts across the nation because there's been a nearly 20% reduction in weather balloon launches that carry those radiosondes. And what we're starting to see is that the quality of the forecasts is becoming degraded. There's also a chance, because of some of these cuts, that NOAA Hurricane Hunter aircraft will not be able to fly this year, and with less reconnaissance missions, we may be flying blind, and we may not exactly know how strong a hurricane is before it reaches the coastline, like happened a couple of years ago in Hurricane Otis in Acapulco, Mexico. So I was asked to talk about this today. I'm glad I was. I just want you to know that what you need to do is call your representatives and make sure that these cuts are stopped. Back to you.
Thank you. John Morales, 34 years of doing this. He's never had to take to the airwaves to tell people that you can't trust my weather reporting because the science can't be trusted, because this government, this administration cut the budgets to the National Weather Center, and they are understaffed, 20 to 40% understaffed. And if there's a hurricane coming your way, John Morales and anybody else that's out there as a meteorologist will not be able to tell you to leave, hunker down, or don't worry. That should be concerning. And this shouldn't matter who you voted for at this point. What are you going to do now? We can't go back and get your ass off the couch to go and vote in November for that lady. Not for that lady, but for your rights, for the right to have good weather reports, FAA, your planes landing safely, having a homeland security that's not going to target you, me, and everybody else because they can, unchecked. people showing up with SS freaking tattoos, posing. And I'm saying posing, but they're deputized as ICE people to go and just willy-nilly pick up people, even citizens of this country. Yeah, so you might have sat home thinking you were protesting and doing something really powerful. But here we are now. What are you doing now? If you didn't vote or you voted for this administration, you can still do something. Contact your congressperson, John Morales said, and flood their offices with stop the madness, stop Doge, stop cutting the budgets. We need good weather. We need good weather reports. This is ridiculous. But here we are. And here's the other thing. It's wild that people can come in and companies do this. Every company all these major companies, when there's time to make cuts, and this is how this country is being run, like a company. This country is not a company. This is not a company. And if you wanted this country to be run by a really good CEO, you pick somebody that bankrupted 6 of them. He doesn't run good businesses. I'm going to tell you about his business in Bedminster later on today as well. For those of you, he was a great businessman. No, today he's not. His golf clubs have been charged with all these violations. It's not political. They lost their liquor license and they're still selling liquor because he's president. Who's going to stop them? But you lose your liquor license because you've done some things. He doesn't run a good business. So why do you think he can run this country? So if you made that decision and you're lying to yourself that you made it because Trump's a good businessman and we need to get rid of these immigrants and all the lies that you might have been told that you are repeating, when the truth might be, I just don't like myself and I'm not willing to work hard or compete, so I'd rather kneecap everyone so we're all in the same horrible stew together. That's your truth. It's Wellness Wednesday. We're going to tell the truth today. But if you're not willing to face that, at least, have the courage to say this is weather. We're not going to get into DEI or all the other stuff. The weather, you're okay with the weather not being reported accurately? All right, then you are a special kind of sick and you need help. It's interesting how people can just do, these line item cuts, not realizing what's important, who's important. Like, people are not replaceable. They're folk with just special skills. And as somebody that's been in a position a long time, they have institutional knowledge, something called institutional knowledge that can't be replaced with just one warm body. Like, they know where the bones are buried. You don't want to just cut that person, but how would you know? Ignorance is not bliss. In this case, it's very dangerous and deadly. Y'all know I'm doing low gardening. It's Wellness Wednesday. So I had bought a bunch of trees last year, little baby trees, because trees are expensive. If you know, trees cost money. So I wanted to start a garden. I wanted to have some witch hazel, a couple of dogwoods. So I bought the baby ones, the ones that cost like $34 in 1 gallon. And I said, I'm going to create a nursery on my deck. So I put them in pots. So this is now actually started 2 years ago. So last year my dogwoods were, coming in, but they're still like got the tender bark, it could still bend. And this year I noticed like some bumps on my dogwood leaves. And I was like, is that a fungus? I didn't ask anybody because, some of us, and I'm guilty of this, so that's why I'm sharing this with you. Some of us think we know more than we do. So I was like, that looks like a fungus. Now I have I'm not an arbiter. I don't know anything about trees. I didn't even go to Mr. Google. I just said, that looks bad. I'm cutting it off. And then as I'm going through the little dogwood, and it's still young, I'm like, just about every leaf has these bumps on them. So I get to cutting because I figure it still looks healthy at the bark area. Let me cut these leaves off and then maybe I'll save the tree. I'm going on my walk and in my neighborhood, a lot of people have dogwoods, and I'm noticing the dogwoods have flowers bursting forth, white flowers bursting forth from their leaves. And I said to myself, were those bumps flowers? What? Did I just cut off all of the beauty of this tree because I don't know what the hell I'm doing, and I'm ignorant, and I just destroyed this tree that just wanted to flower because I don't know something. What an idiot. I was so mad at myself. I said the tree was just trying to flower, and I cut off the best part. If anybody's seen a dogwood in bloom, it is amazingly beautiful. And I couldn't even remember that's why I wanted the young dogwood to, and this was the season. This was the year it was going to flower. I don't think our government has that much humanity to even recognize the people that they've selected to run this country. And maybe it's you. Maybe you're the same kind of person where you go, well, we don't need that. The way so many people we talked with the leader of the Choctaw Nation yesterday was such a great conversation. There's so much more that I want to sit and process. But if you think about all of the goodness of the indigenous, the different tribes and what each of them brought to the table, that these knuckle-dragging Neanderthals came over and they looked at them like they were weak and stupid and all of this, even though they taught you how to survive the winter, but that's because they were naive. They're like children. No, they have ancient memory that have been wiped away by ignorance. And now we're a nation of children and a nation of ignorance. It's sickening. I was sick for myself being so stupid. And I said, never again. I was embarrassed. I shouldn't even share the story with you. That's how embarrassed I was. I didn't share it with you when it happened. But I was thinking about it today because here we are. And we got to confront what we don't know. And instead of letting somebody tell you something that is wrong and buying into this ideal of, left and right and this immigrants is the problem when it's really you. That's the problem. You've been given every opportunity to succeed, and you mad at somebody that walked 1,000 miles in flip-flops, who's picking apples and freaking cleaning people's toilets and all of the things. They're your problem? They're your problem? Really? Okay. All this history. We got to get rid of all this history. My children are feeling bad about themselves. Why are you raising your children to identify with oppressors and enslavers and rapists? Why? You have a choice. You don't have to do that. You can say that's history. Let's not repeat it. And let's not be like these people. Yes. And some of them did good things. Thomas Jefferson, we're not going to toss them out with the bathwater. Yeah, no, we keep them on our $20 bill or whatever. But this can't be. Where hurricane season, people are going to die now because somebody decided they didn't want to vote for that lady. Because she's a cop. What about this? I know for a fact FEMA would have been funded. So then I look at the president not reading his briefs. Primarily, I think because he can't read. I'm just going to say it. I don't think he can read very well. I've been around people who are illiterate. They got all kinds of tricks. And it's not shameful to not know how to read. It's shameful to stay in that. It's shameful to not get that fixed. But if you've lived your whole 70, almost 80 years on this earth getting away with, people covering for you and you still being successful. And this is the problem in this country, too, because we allow somebody like this to rise to the highest office. Again, that's on the people that sat home, 90 million of y'all, and the others that decided, third party Gaza. Ask the Gazans how they feel today that this decision was made. As Israel is preventing aid from coming in and people are starving to death. Like, you cared about those people? Did you really? Did you really care? Let's stop. So Susan Rice, who was in the Obama administration, was she Secretary of State for a minute? I think Susan Rice. When I saw this clip, I was like, this is so ridiculous, and I don't know why people aren't in the streets. We ain't going to be in the streets, by the way. We are not going to be in the streets, but somebody should be in them streets. She said this man is not even reading his briefs. The president. So who's the president? If the UN ambassador, thank you, Susan Rice. If he's not reading his briefs, who's reading the briefs and who's running the country? Do you care about that? Do you care that that man's not running this country? I care because somebody else is, and we didn't elect them. Okay. I know Elon Musk is out there cosplaying right now that he's, I don't like this big, beautiful bill, but sir, you've gotten all you can from all of us as a person that's not born here. You're not from this country. You don't give a damn about us, the United States. You did that for your own grift. As you get $8 million of taxpayer dollars every single day. So, of course, who couldn't be the richest person in the world? Raise your hand. Give me a subsidy of $8 million a day. See what I do with it. What would you do with it? I know so many of you would do so much. People would be eating for sure. There would be no unhoused. You give me $8 million, I'm going to pass that along. But that's not where we are right now. Play the Susan Rice clip because it's chilling.
It's been recently reported, David, that the President of the United States, who's been in office well over 100 days now, has only received the presidential daily briefing, the most important, highly classified daily intelligence briefing, some 12 times, some 12 days of his 100 plus days in office. What is he doing if he's not reading the PDB? And I hate to say this, you could say it about the airplane, you could say it about Signalgate, you could say it about so many different things. But if any other president had refused or opted not to receive the presidential daily briefing from the intelligence community on a regular basis, it would be a huge, huge scandal with massive investigations in Congress and huge speculation that the president is not playing with a full deck. That's a key part of the job.
Unless he had no intention of doing the key part of the job, because his job was to get elected so that they can do the rest. Project 2025 tease it all up. And if you didn't want to read it, that was fine. All you needed to do was to tune into to Urban View every day. Larry was breaking it down. But Clay was breaking it down. I wasn't breaking it down as much as both of them, but they were going chapter and verse. Reese on the weekend, like Project 2025 had it all spelled out what they were going to do. All they needed was a patsy to be in office, and all he cares about is golfing and cheating at golf, because he cheats at everything, because he's a cheater, a liar, and a 34-time convicted felon and an adjudicated sex offender. That's who y'all elected or didn't show up for yourself and for me and for the rest of us. Selfish ass people. But I'm going to put that over there, because it pisses me off how selfish people are. I voted against my own personal interest because it's always more important to put the rest of the folk before your little wallet, your little pocketbook. So he's not getting the briefs. Who's getting the briefing? We saw a little bit of peek into that, those of you who watch Paradise, with the little iPad, with the president, and then only a certain few people can get in the iPad because it has all these secrets on it. That was in the safe. The iPad was in the safe. If you watch Paradise with Sterling K. Brown, you'll know about the iPad and what's on the iPad. So Simone D. Sanders, who has a show on MSNBC, she piggybacked on the briefing thing. And apparently, the Republicans. And here's my thing. Anybody that thinks that Fox is a Republican leaning outlet, you're so sorely mistaken. It is entertainment. It's entertainment. So they're not even doing news. They're just throwing out red meat for the ignorant people who tune in every single day. And they keep their fire going. So they're pulling on anything that makes it, pro-Trump, anti the Democrats, the libs. Every time I see them, we're getting the libs. I'm like, who are these libs? It's just like, it's so weird. Even your language, it's so weird. It's like you're in this quasi war, and it feels like a war. What's your end game? How do you win? How do you win when all of us can't eat, can't breathe? The water's dirty. Like, what's the goal? So Simone D. Sanders is talking about the same thing that Susan Rice, former head of the UN, ambassador to the UN. Not the head of the UN, the ambassador to the UN. Simone D. Sanders said this. Play it.
A clip from our show last night is making the rounds with my conservative friends on social media and on conservative news websites. Not even conservative. I would argue they're right wing, honey. And I want to play the clip for you.
To ask who's actually making the decisions. Who is actually running the country? Everybody wants to say Joe Biden wasn't running the country. I know for a fact he not only read his presidential daily brief, he was engaged in the meeting, he asked questions, and he gave directives. Donald Trump can't even Won't even bother to read the iPad.
Well, especially when this.
But we were discussing exclusive NBC News reporting that President Trump is at this point only getting the presidential daily briefing once a week. And Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, discussing changing the presidential daily briefing into a Fox News style presentation. Now it's important to pause here and say that when I worked at the White House, the information was compiled and it was presented in an iPad form. And so, Vice President Harris, the president, they would get an iPad with the information, then they go into a meeting. That's when I worked at the White House. The reporting says even going so far as to enlisting a producer and thinking about even potentially talent from the network to deliver the presidential daily briefing in a format that is more amenable to the president. Why should you care about this? Well, because if the president is not regularly being updated, if he's not regularly receiving real-time info on what is happening in our nation and across the globe, how can he effectively make the decisions?
How? This is ridiculous. I said yesterday we are in a reality TV show and none of us signed up. We didn't get a waiver, an NDA. We got none of the we ain't getting a check. The United States is a reality show. And now they're going to put the briefings together and Fox is going to do it. They're not conservative. Did you see the big, beautiful bill? There's nothing conservative about that big, beautiful bill. That's a lie. They're gaslighting the F out of us. And what are we doing about it? And again, if you sat your ass home in November, now's your time to make it up. Get busy. Make some phone calls.
We're ready. We're prepared. Do not give in to fear. We are fearless. This is not the time to be afraid. This is a time to stand up and fight back and to resist any temptation for them to divide us. We're in this together. The rule of law is on our side. We will not give in, not give up. We will not capitulate. We will not bow. We will not bend. We will survive.